Paris in the summer, where hearts turn to gold. It's going to be a wild ride. Everyone's invited. CBC and GEM have you covered.
Here comes DeGrasse. It is Summer McIntosh. Gold for Canada.
It all begins July 26th. The world comes alive in a global act of unity. Summer's going to be popping. Let's go!
Hello, Canada. I'm Andi Petrillo. I am looking forward to the Paris Olympics. Are you? I hope so. That's why you're here. I will be your host of Prime Time. Everything kicks off July 26th with the opening ceremony. And in the meantime, we want to make sure you are kept up to date on the biggest storylines, especially around the Canadian athletes, as we head into Paris. And today's theme, well, we're all in the pool. It is all about swimming. So who better to talk swimming than MacLean, Olympian and our analyst right here as well on CBC Sports. So I got something for you. Canada's been good in the pool.
Yep.
Not that I'm sharing something with you don't already know. You look at what they did as well. Rio, they picked up 6 medals. Tokyo, they picked up 6 medals. The women have been the superstars as well. But Gracenotes medal predictions, we always look forward to them before the games because they're kind of in the ballpark. They once again have predicted 6 medals for Canada in the pool, 2 of them gold, both coming by way of Summer McIntosh. So firstly, I just want to talk to you about the 6 medals. Do you think that it's going to be that way for a 3rd straight games?
Andi, okay, so to give you a bit of background, I was that athlete that until I officially qualified for the Olympics, I couldn't talk about it. I was very we would go to the trials. I'm like, Mom and Dad, you could maybe book flights, but I don't want to know about them because I get too, it's not even superstitious, but it's just the putting the cart before the horse kind of thing. I have always so far in my very early broadcasting career, I'm always on the outside of we'll see. I think I'm now bold enough to say, I think we're more than 6. I think we can confidently say more than 6. And I would like to, especially now that we've watched the Olympic trials take place, there's a lot more strength than I think the general public is aware of yet, and some new names, and also some names that were in the mix but are now more in the mix for medals and that kind of thing. So I mean, still up in the air, of course.
Yes.
I am confident to say I think we'll win more than 6 medals in the pool.
Well, because here's the other thing. The 6 medals they're predicting are all assumed to be by women. Do you think the Canadian men, though, are raising their hand going, well, second, we've improved too? And who would those men be?
Absolutely. And the story of the trials really was eyes on the men's program. And they've kind of been creeping up as the story's been about the women. And now I'm really looking forward to watching the men shine because it is, in my opinion, their time. We have Josh Liendo, who is currently ranked number 1 in the world in the 100 butterfly. So we're not talking, someone that is putting himself in contention, literally the current best in the world in his craft. And he looked so strong at these trials. I truly believe the best is yet to come. Now, one thing we do have to factor in is the fact that the 2 best swimming nations, Australia and the US, have yet to have their Olympic trials. So it is really tough to make an exact, he is going in as a top seed. We'll have to wait a few weeks to know that. But I think he's put himself in that perfect mixer conversation. Maybe not the threat for gold, or I think he's going to threaten for gold. I'm going to be able to say that. But maybe not the favorite for gold.
Yeah.
I think he's a definite favorite, though, for the podium. There's no question in my mind that that medal is within his reach. I also think Ilia Haroun, we went from being a nation that didn't have any butterflyers to now this is our strength. And that makes me really excited as a retired athlete because it used to be the event. When you're in any sport that has a long program, there's those races that you sit down and take a break for. And it used to be the 100 butterfly before we had Maggie. It used to be the 200 fly before we had Summer and Ilia. So this makes me really excited because it's kind of new uncharted territory. For Ilia Haroun, though, he was 4th in Worlds last year. He was visibly frustrated, but in the best way, if that makes sense. He came back and he was picking apart his race of everything he could have improved upon. He's coached by Bob Bowman, Michael Phelps' coach, and he's kind of really flourished in his first year at Arizona State. And so I think talk about peaking at the right time. I think he's chasing toward that. We also have the reigning world champion in Finley Knox in the 200 IM. So that was a bit of a weird world championships that came in January. There was some notable names missing, but he at the trials just a couple weeks ago went even faster than the time that won him that world title. He's now ranked in the top 4 in the world in that event. So talk about people that are in those podium potential positions. He's another name I have to bring up. And again, that's 3 men off the top of my head. I also think I wouldn't be doing the relay justice to not mention the men's 4x100 freestyle relay. And they were a relay that came fourth with the help of Brent Hayden at the last games. And it was one of those out of the outside lane. Nobody was expecting Canada to be in the mix.
Great to see the men's program obviously now is taking that next step. Curious to see what they do in Paris, but we're still going to have our eyes on the women, and in particular Summer McIntosh, because even though she competed in Tokyo, she was like 15. There wasn't much expected of her. In the meantime, Britt, she set world records, broke them, set them again, has gone head to head with Katie Ledecky. I mean, this is a name where it doesn't surprise me that if they, the Gracenotes once again making the prediction she's going to come home with 2 gold medals. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, this is somebody who since Tokyo has grown exponentially. Could these be her games, her big coming out party?
Oh, I absolutely without doubt think so. Like, we have seen her in our Canadian audience for the last couple of years, whether it was making her first Olympic team as a youngster, and that itself was a storyline. And then it was going to World Championships and winning medals, and that itself. And then her first world record. And those definitely have been chasing her towards the top of those stories. But international audiences, I believe, are all going to be focused on Summer. Like, I truly think this is Summer's games, and it has the potential to be her more vast coming out party, I guess, in that sense. I think with Summer, the main events where those golds, I would assume, again, I will have different predictions, of course, but I think the golds we can assume or hope for Summer, the best likelihood would be the 400 IM, which is the event that she has a world record in.
Yep, they have
and then the 200 butterfly.
Yep, that's there.
Okay, perfect. So we're on the same page there. That's great. So those are the two where I believe, like the 400 IM, she truly is just leaps and bounds ahead of anyone else right now. Her time in that event, obviously she's the world record holder, which means she's the best to ever do that event in history. So we're not even talking about, current world rankings. We're talking about history. But like, that time would be competitive in a women's freestyle event. Like, it is just so far ahead of the rest of the field. It is absurd to me. So watching her swim that race is my favorite. But the races that she's close to other athletes in are almost going to be the ones that are more exciting to watch, right? Like, watching as a viewer a neck-and-neck competition, and some that have some of the greats like Katie Ledecky and Ariane Titmus, that 400 freestyle. It's night one. We're starting off with a bang. After, unfortunately, going into the World Championships last year where it was that 3-headed monster we were teasing, and then Summer just didn't have her best race. I think she's a little more motivated toward that one. And in that sense, she can only go up from there. So I think it takes a little bit of that. Of course, there's pressure on her. She always says, the only pressure is what I put on myself. But we'd be naive to say there's no pressure on the youngster. Now, after what happened last year, how she picked herself back up, she moved forward, had a great competition. Her and her coach are scientifically working day by day through the competition. How can we load manage? How can we peak at the right time? How can we work on your recovery? All of these different details. They've now had years to perfect this. So I am confident that it's not a favorite for gold, but I think she'll be in the mix. I think the medal is there. I think her 200 freestyle, should she choose to swim it. Again, the word should she choose to swim it is because she's literally going to have a jam-packed schedule. So we'll have to wait as the viewers to finalize her program closer to. But the 200 freestyle is still in the mix. 200 IM is still in the mix. If I would have loved to watch her swim the 800 freestyle, because watching her break that national record of mine just 2 months ago it filled me with such joy, because not only did she break the record, she just smashed it. And it's a race that she's only swam maybe a handful of times in the last 5 years. So knowing that there's so much more there that could be done, I wanted to see her swim it, but her schedule is just so busy. So it's going to be tough for her to manage that.
Well, and speaking of that race that you were discussing, I remember working the World Aquatics with you. We were anticipating that head-to-head with Katie Ledecky, and Summer wasn't even on the podium. But she bounced back and ended up having an incredible World Championships. Mentally tough. Someone else who's just as mentally tough is Maggie McNeil. She's been there, done that. She has stood on Olympic podiums. She has stood on World Championship podiums. She has made the decision at the Worlds a couple years ago to just say, I'm only going to do the relay. I'm not going to do individual. Got to focus on myself. It works, comes back, hasn't missed a beat. They've predicted not a gold for her, though, a bronze in the 100-meter butterfly. Where is Maggie McNeil at in her career for you? And do you agree with that at Paris?
I think I think a podium is realistic. I know Maggie wants gold, and I am by no means discrediting that. I think the one thing that is important context to bring into that 100 butterfly is every time that Maggie's won it, it's been by a fingernail. She knows how to get her hand on the wall, but it's not that she is, leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the competition. She has had to fight for every gold that she's won. So is it realistic to say, it's her gold medal to lose? Like, that's a little challenging, right? There are a ton of other names in the mix. So for Maggie, the conversation is more about who she's going to be up competing against, what times are posted in the next couple weeks. I think Maggie's an absolute medal threat. I think she is a threat for the top of the podium as well, but it's not a shoe-in by any means. So I would love to see Maggie go back-to-back with Olympic golds, and I think all of Canada would love to see that as well. It is going to be challenging, though, but if anyone knows how to get their hand on the wall and is kind of in that advantageous place to have the experience to have done it, it's Maggie MacLean.
Love it when she does it, and then she's known for that squinty look afterwards, right? Because she doesn't wear the contacts in the pool, which is pretty funny. So Maggie MacLean, Summer McIntosh, those are the two that Gracenotes has predicted will pick up medals individual. Then they've said that Canada will pick up medals in the relay, two of them being bronze, 4x100 free, 4x100 medley. Canada has been good at relays. There is this expectation now for them to end up on the podium. Do you agree with this?
This one I struggle a bit more with. I think the 4x100 medley, absolutely. I think, to put it into perspective, it's the top of each stroke, 100 stroke specialist in each country gets to compete on that relay. So your best 100 backstroker, the breaststroker, the butterfly, the freestyle. It helps show kind of the versatility of a country's program. For us right now, you look at Kylie Moss, who's back being stronger than ever. Another storyline to keep an eye on. I also think with Maggie doing so well, I think Penny, normally we're used to seeing Penny have to balance all of her individual events with the relays. She's going to be able to come and focus on just relays. And so a fresh Penny Lexiak that there's nobody in a head-to-head battle I would want other than Penny Lexiak racing down someone. So that puts me in a really confident position. Sophie Angus, our best breaststroker, has made huge strides in the last few years, but that was known as our weakness. If Sophie can take off about a half second, I think that medley relay is going to be fighting definitely for the podium, if not for around silver. So that one I'm feeling good about. The women's 4x100 freestyle is a bit more challenging to me because of that time standard. Like I mentioned at the trials, we won't have anyone swimming the event individually. So when we're talking about the depth of our country in that event specifically, it is hard to ration that 4 of them are adding up to the time they would need to be on the podium when none of them were under that Olympic qualifying standard at the trials. Now, Maggie MacLean didn't swim the event individually. She'll probably hop on for that relay. Summer McIntosh could potentially hop on for that relay. Again, I don't want to promise it because it's the same day as her 400 freestyle, so they'll have to make a strategic load management decision. But changing that up, having Penny almost a second faster maybe, yes, they're in the mix. I think it's an outside looking in mix. It's also going to be interesting to see. I think the Americans and the Australians are definitely the favorite for first and seconds. Aussies first, the Americans second. The Chinese have really made a big push toward their freestyle. Their 4x200 freestyle won the last Olympics, and that was kind of a big shocker. They were phenomenal. They've dealt with a little bit of a doping scandal recently, and so how that honestly was a part of my factor because I don't know how that's going to land in the next couple weeks. Yeah. Are they going to ban more athletes? Are they going to let them all race? That's definitely going to make a difference as to who's going to be the lineup for Team China. So yeah, I think Canada should be threatening for the podium. If I'm going to put my Canada medal opportunities out there too, I would add that men's 4x100 freestyle relay. I think they have a chance. I think, like I said, if you're just going off of numbers and factoring the fact that 3 of them were under that Olympic qualifying time individually, adding, a lifetime best from Javi Acevedo on the 4th member there. You have a Josh Lando swimming really well. Finley Knox individually is lighting up the pool. And then Yuri Kissel, what a great story. He just made his comeback, and he's kind of been one of those really experienced relay swimmers for Team Canada. I think they'll challenge.
I'm happy he's back because he has the best Yuri Kissel, the missile.
Kissel the missile.
I'm like, come on, a guy with a nickname like that needs to be
a sprinter,
sport.
right?
Yes.
I was like, imagine he was a distance swimmer. It wouldn't be nearly very fun. But he had shirts at trials with a missile, and he had his. It was awesome. Yeah.
I love that
he leans in. He
is leaning into it. And again, you know what? And people do this, and that's fine. And we love everyone who jumps on the Olympic bandwagon. But a lot of people, when they do think of the swim team, because they tune in for the Olympics, they do think of Penny Oleksiak, right? Where is she right now? Who's obviously a veteran, leader on the team, but where are the expectations for her?
Yeah, I'm honestly really excited about where she's at. I think she'll be the perfect relay ace. I think she's in a position where she's gone through a lot in the last couple of years. But if anyone knows to stand up when it matters, it's Penny Oleksiak. We went from Rio, where she just completely shocked the world, won multiple Olympic medals, and then she had a couple down years, but by Tokyo, she was perfectly peaking at the right time. And so that's why I never count out Penny Oleksiak, never. She's dealt with a lot. She had surgery less than 6 months ago, another one on her knee. And so I can't say that she's in the best shape in her life, but I think she knows how to race. And when it comes down to it, she is prioritizing relays. To put some background, of course, she didn't qualify in the individual 100 freestyle. So that means she has a couple months, because she won the event at the trials. In the next 6 weeks, she could go to a few international competitions and try to get under the standard and still swim it. But in theory, she's not threatening for the medal in that event. And so if she really wants to focus on where she has potential to make an impact on this Canadian team, I do think it's across multiple relays. She could be on the medley. There's also a mixed relay. There's a freestyle relay, there's prelims, and there's finals. So that's a lot of racing for these athletes that are doing a bunch of different individual events. So that could be the difference factor for this Canadian team. I'm excited she officially is on the roster, but I'm more excited about the potential of what the next 8 weeks has in store.
We are excited to see what this team's going to do as they prepare. And then, of course, when they are in the pool in Paris. The opening ceremony, that is on July 26th. All your coverage right here on CBC. You can catch me on prime time. Look forward to seeing you.
Paris in the summer, where hearts turn to gold. It's going to be a wild ride. Everyone's invited from the city of light, the city of love.
Catchberg lets it fly. Gold for Maggie McNeil.
And CBC and Gem have you covered. Coast to coast to coast. To the hot Paris sun. The world comes alive in a global act of unity.
Julia Grosso to win it for Canada! Canada gold! Nobody will catch him today.
Cameron Rogers, the world champion.
It all begins July 26th.
This is a performance for the history books.
Find the light and you'll feel the love. Be the love and you'll see the light.
Here comes DeGrasse, accelerating. Gold for Canada. It is Summer McIntosh.
Summer's gonna be popping